Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk 20s. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that. Like that.
You can see the difference in the energy levels between the three of us, but
It's like, woo! And then, yeah.
no worries. I know
What's
that
up, guys?
GT's had a busy week moving into his new place. I know Connor's been working, and we're ready to provide you guys some more content yet again. Just when you thought we were gone forever,
Yep.
we're back.
We almost gave up.
Nah, that man full of cow.
We had some serious deals, acquisition deals from Sony and Spotify. I mean, it was a tough decision, but we decided to remain independent and provide you guys the content because we wanted to be genuine. So instead of making millions of dollars and selling it and you guys never seeing us again, we decided to stay true to our roots. And here we are.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, they just wanted us for the acronym, LT2S.
Yeah, it's a pretty hot commodity. But anyways, to hop into this topic, fellas, I hope you're both doing well, by the way. I know we caught up off camera. But
yeah, hope you're doing well too, man.
Yeah, I am. But for this topic, guys, this one is really important for specifically like motivation and trying to push yourself and achieve everything that you want to in all areas of your life. So the topic for today is making plans, how to follow through. So kind of talking about committing to something and, putting the money where your mouth is and truly digging down and getting to it. So for the first question I have for you, gentlemen, say what you mean and mean what you say. Why is this such a vital skill to prioritize in your 20s?
Establish a foundation of kind of having an intent and purpose with what you say. And don't shy around things, but exactly like you said, say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't be two-faced, because we already have way too many two-faced people in this world. We don't need any more people added to it. But basically just keep it short and simple, boys. Just have intent and purpose behind what you say. And when you say it, say with confidence, because guess what? That's your thoughts. And don't be afraid to speak your mind.
Yeah, well said. To add on to that, I would say it's vital because it has to do not only with your commitment skills, but it also has to do with your communication skills with people in your life and with your work, with your career, just with any kind of hobby that you're committed to. If you're trying to make something happen in your life, you have to take the time and commitment to make plans that you're going to be able to follow through, that you're going to want to follow through. And the 20s are a perfect time for you to develop that. We're all doing some soul searching. We're all doing some, finding out about ourselves in a lot of different ways. And so it's a perfect time to figure out how exactly you can develop those skills to have better commitments with making your plans. So I think it's important just because it also gives off what's the word I'm trying to use with this? It basically gives off that you care when you commit to something as well. It gives off a good impression when you do that. And I think that matters too in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think work ethic and the way that you portray yourself, how willing you are to, one, get stuff done, but two, your willingness to actually do what you say, not in terms of just your job, but like you said, Connor, your communication and relationship with really anyone in your life, but significant other, friends specifically. I can definitely sniff that out with people, and I personally despise individuals who do not follow through with what they say. I think it's just one of those things that I try to be so adamant about following through with what I say that when others do not do that, or I get disappointed by a person over several different situations, for me, it's like a deal breaker in terms to continue a relationship with them. So I think that's why it's vital as well. Yeah, for sure.
Well, going off
Absolutely.
of what you just said, you were talking about how we say a whole lot of things, right? But we don't follow through with this. And I always thought about it. Do you boys think, does it seem that we get too caught up with life and we don't follow through with things? What's different views on that? With people just like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. Nothing happens.
We want to, it's not just please, but we want to maybe we want to come across a certain way. We all know what good communication skills are. We all know what good follow through is. I mean, or at the very least, we've heard of good examples of it. And, that's being honest, being for us a man of your word, and, committing to the things that you care about in terms of your values and your plans and things like that. And we want to be perceived that way by people, often to the point sometimes where maybe we are so busy with life and we still want to be seen that way, that we make plans that we can't possibly commit to a lot of the times. I mean, I've been guilty of that. I know that for a fact. And it's something I'm glad we're talking about this today, because communication and time management, both of which I think have to do with making decisions regarding planning, are a big thing on my to-do list to improve in 2023. And, I'm in my mid-20s now, and I've gotten better at it than I was at the beginning of my 20s, but it's still a long road to walk.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I don't even think it's like something that just happens in your 20s. I think this topic is something that people have to constantly be mindful of, especially when you get older and then you have kids and this and that, and you're involved with more things on a daily basis, that when you do try to, like you said, Connor, try to do these outside things or commit to outside plans and everything, it gets even, more possible for you to overcommit. And that's my answer, is just everyone tries to overcommit and tries to overdo everything, rather than something that I've been working on is not overcommitting and just focusing on what I can control and working on a few things at once. That way I'm actually getting better results out of that instead of spreading myself too thin.
I agree with that a lot. I like how you said you try to not overcommit and just focus on a couple things to just improve yourself. And I think that's definitely something that I've been trying to do as well. I've been trying to not try to be involved in maybe as many things and say, hey, like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Well, like you said earlier, Connor, I think a lot of people tend to want to please other people instead of, pleasing themselves and taking care of themselves. And I think that's something that I absolutely can agree and attest to, that it's helped me out to where some people are not even sorry. Smell you like, yeah, I can't, because you're not worth my time. You're just not. So
Smell you strikes again.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna come up here and there, but yeah, man. I mean,
It's great
can't
catchphrase,
commit to
man.
those. Can't commit to those who just aren't adding to it. So in that way, I can get more stuff done and not have to worry about pleasing everybody else. My life.
That's right.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think you guys have both summarized a lot of how this can affect you in a lot of different areas in your life. And one reason why I think this area specifically in everybody's life gets so good in terms of making plans and not being able to follow through on them. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, we get caught up with life, and it's because maybe we don't balance our workload sometimes. And, that's of course one of the topics that we've talked about, is balancing your workload. And I think it relates pretty heavily to this topic, because if you don't have a balanced workload, you're not going to be able to make efficient plans a lot of the times. So I was curious, maybe in terms of how these two topics relate to each other, how can we learn to have a balanced lifestyle and make plans for the ones we care about? What are some things that we can do for people? Maybe just kind of jump in a little bit to the tips a little bit earlier than normal, just because it relates to that. What do y'all think?
Man, I think what speaks to me is Steve Harvey said this, and he said, not everybody that comes with you can go with you. And I've said this in the podcast before, but it's something that's very true. Because, even some people said, some people come into your life to teach you lessons. Some people are seasonal people, and some people are year-round people. It's knowing which ones are the year-round people, are the ones, and the ones who truly are there for you and help you out with everything. Those are the ones that have more priority, right? Like your significant other, your family, they're going to come first, right? Because that's direct, and those are the people that you care about the most. And I just think it comes down to priority, and it's can't tiptoe around that. Like I said earlier, and like you said, Terrence, speak what you mean and mean what you say. you just got to be honest with these people, because people will take your kindness differently and they'll interpret it in a different way. And not even just kindness, people will interpret what you say or how you act completely different. And it's unfortunate just how it is. But that's life, and you just got to keep it pushing. So,
Yeah. Something that I think we will touch on in the future part of this episode is that you kind of have to be selfish in terms of the plans you're making and the plans that you're following through with, because that accountability, taking charge and knowing what you can and cannot commit to, the only person who's able to say yes or no is you. So you kind of have to be selfish and selective about what realistically you can and cannot actually fulfill. And so in terms of having a balanced lifestyle, obviously you want to say yes to everyone, especially if a lot of people like your family or a significant other want you to help them with certain things, for you to make plans with them. But you kind of have to keep about yourself in the back of your mind, like, can I actually commit to this?
Yeah.
Is this going to be too overwhelming for me? What's like the actual commitment behind this thing or action that these people want me to do? And so not to act like it needs to be all about you, because that's 100% not the case at all. But in terms of thinking about yourself, so that way you're not, one, overwhelming yourself, but two, disappointing the others, you kind of have to think about what your actual limitations are and pick and choose what you actually think you're going to be able to, follow through with. So a little bit different of advice, I think, than what the two of you were going to say, but what people would initially think. But that's kind of one of the mindsets I've personally had in order to actually not overcommit to everything. And actually, when I say I'm going to do something, or I tell someone I'll be somewhere, I'm actually doing it because I'm thinking about what I'm actually capable of doing without being too stressed out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. And it makes me think of, too, I know we're going to talk about this in future episodes, but it's part of making plans and part of having a balanced workload and part of just staying organized in general is just being honest about your limits for yourself and being honest and realistic about where you are in your life. You might have goals and aspirations about where you're going to be, and that's great, and you should have that in your life. But if years away from maybe finishing something that you're just not getting started on and you're putting too much pressure on yourself, for example, that's not going to work. And you're going to start making plans that you can't possibly follow up on because you're trying to do too much at once, for example. Or on the opposite end of it, maybe you're not pushing yourself enough and you need to be realistic about what you can accomplish in a day. So balancing your workload has to do, I think, with honestly evaluating your own limits and your own strengths and weaknesses with how you plan stuff. And maybe if you have trouble, making plans and being organized, maybe reaching out to people who you think are good at that and asking for advice on that, not just us, because people can do it. People can obviously be really successful in this area in their lives, and you're not alone, not just with us, but other people I'm sure that are good at organization that you can reach out to. And I think that's important because I do think that a lot of problems that people have with this is sometimes their plans, they're just too large, especially in their 20s. And I totally get why.
My biggest issue of not following through is that my plans I was making were too large. I was trying to maybe accomplish a goal that was, way too large. And I was trying to condense it in a shorter time frame than I should have, for example. But that was my biggest thing. What your guys' biggest issue on why you don't follow through with the plans that you make? What's a reoccurring, if you had to pick one or kind of narrow it down to one, what do you think is the reoccurring kind of issue and why maybe at times you're not able to follow through with what you say or what you think you can do?
Work. And I hate saying that. I absolutely hate saying that. But I work a lot, and the reason why I work is because, like, obviously I want to make money. Like, I have to pay rent, have to pay bills, utilities, have to pay all that. If I want to do something, God forbid, if I want to do something, I have to make money for that too.
Yeah.
And because living's not cheap, like we all think it is. Until we all start living on our own, and we find out real quick that's not how it works. And loans, dude, I gotta pay these loans off. These loans are no joke. So, and it's something that, like, it's hard, man, when you got so much. But It's also tough at the same time because everyone has the same 24 hours, but it's all about priority, and it's tough. It's tough, man.
I agree. I kind of have two that have been kind of equal in terms of how they've affected me. One of which I'll touch on later because I have a question for you guys about it that we'll get to. And I mean, of course, I relate to the work thing. Definitely. I mean, that's, you got to work, you got to make money, you got to survive. I mean, there's no question about that. I think if I had to pick something personally for me, though, it would probably have to do. I actually just lost it. Oh, I just had something good. I'll just go into my early one. It's probably the fact that I can tend to be a people pleaser, and I don't like to disappoint people. I have made so many plans and so many decisions in my life based on what other people have wanted to do when they want to hang out with me, for example, or when they want to go somewhere. And I've actually found that not necessarily my favorite like memories in my life, but the most proud of myself that I have been in my life is when I took decisions or took steps for something that I was the only one that wanted to do it. And an example I can give is like when I committed to making plans to becoming a better bass player. You know, nobody in my life ever suggested that to me. They were never like, oh, you should go do this. I want to do it. I'm going to try it. That's true. And I tell it, my family loves me to death, but I can be impulsive and I can totally make plans and forget about it afterwards. And they were like, oh, he's going to last a month. No, I've been playing for years now because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I would say just because I was a people pleaser and I was more focused on what other people wanted from me, that was a big reason why I wasn't able to make plans for a long time. And then I guess it kind of leads to the second thing, but I won't go into detail because it kind of relates. I wasn't honest about why I couldn't make my plans. Oh, it's because I'm just not good at making plans. It's like, no, I was trying to please everybody else and I wasn't trying to focus on myself. And so I just wasn't honest about that for a long time. So those are my big ones, definitely. What about you, Tanner? You said was it just that big one?
I mean, that was a big one, honestly. It was just that I was trying to make plans or trying to commit to things that were initially I was like, oh man, I can do this, or that doesn't seem too bad. I can probably do it in a certain time frame, but then come to find out, no shot. So yeah, definitely, I guess overestimating my ability and underestimating the actual plan or goal or whatever it was.
Right.
And then when I was trying to do 2 or 3 large things at once, when I thought it wouldn't be so time consuming, then I slowly realized that I was not actually giving my full effort into a single one. So I'm just half-assing 3 things, and I might as well not do any of them at that point.
Yep.
At least in the way I am. I don't want to half-ass anything. So if I am half-assing something, I might as well just not do it at all.
That's a good mindset to have.
Yeah, dude, I think if you start half-assing anything, you need to, like you just said, life is too short, buddy. Life is too short. Why would you half-ass something?
Well, and I'm stressing myself out. Yeah. And I'm stressing myself out and putting too much strain. And then I was trying to prioritize that over my own personal, work, school. I was doing the club team handball at the time, specifically in college, and everything like that. I was trying to prioritize that shit before my own personal life. And then, it's just a vicious cycle. So I agree with that.
Busy.
You were busy, man. And it probably
plans, dog. Whew. Coming down to Auburn, oh god, that took a while. You had to be planning like 3-4 weeks in advance.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and it totally leads to things that you do when you're a teenager or when you're in your 20s. Like you overcommit, and then you do things that you don't even want to do.
Yeah.
But like, why in your 20s though, boys? Why specifically in our 20s? We see that way more than we do anywhere else. Like, what's the foundation or what's the main core reason why in our 20s that's such a prevalent topic?
First thing that pops into mind for me, when we're in our 20s, we're still figuring ourselves out, our limitations and everything. And especially since we're just to adulthood and all this and that, we still haven't adjusted to the new lifestyle that we're trying to acclimate to. And I think we still have the mindset and kind of dreams of a teenager of, oh, I can do this, this, and this. We still have at least I had the mindset of a teenager where I was like, oh, I can get this, this, and this done. But I didn't have as many duties or daily things going on in my life as I do in early adulthood. Like GT, you're talking about, now I'm paying for my bills. Now I have to work more, just way more stress on a day-to-day level. So I think us adjusting and acclimating to the 20s lifestyle, learning to be an adult, we still don't know too much about ourselves. We're still learning about our limitations. And I think we're so excited to be thrown into this new life where the freedom, everything like that, we still are learning about being an adult and what that entails. And in addition to that, the first of lots of things, getting your first house, starting your family, getting married, all these huge time consuming or huge time commitments, lifestyle changes that in your 20s, you're really just thrown into the loop and you're trying to commit. And I don't know, that's my kind of first thought.
I mean, that's kind of where my mind went to, and I'll keep it short and sweet because I want to hear what GT has to say about it. But it's also the thing that I think of is like the expected path that people are maybe supposed to follow. I remember so many times, I don't know if y'all heard this when you were a teenager, but my dad always used to say this stuff that like, you realize you're an adult when you realize you're just doing stuff that you never want to do, but you have to do it because you're an adult. There is some truth in that. Of course, when you own a house, you got to do chores and you got to do upkeep and stuff like that. When you have,
God.
Yeah, right, exactly. GT knows he just got a house. Like, yeah, you got to do stuff that you don't want to do. I'm not saying that's not true to an extent. And then, of course, like you have commitments with your jobs and things like that you're not always going to be super jazzed about. That I think it's realistic to look at it like that. But because there's this path of getting kids or getting married and then having kids and then being in a relationship, the path that you're supposed to follow, because like you said, Tanner, you don't figure out who you are and you don't always take time to analyze yourself. You might find that you're approaching these things at a different level or at a different time frame than other people. So as a result, it's like you're basically just doing things because you're either told to do them or because you've always been told you have to do them, but you've never really questioned it. And that's something that I experienced. And I was told that, like, because I was told that by my dad, I just did so many things that I hated doing, but I was like, oh, this is what I have to do. But I was so bad at planning because I hated everything that I was doing. And I know that life is hard and I know that I'm not going to enjoy everything, but I don't think I should hate everything that I'm doing. Like, there has to be something that I'm missing. For me, it's analyzing maybe the pathway that you're on. Is that the path you want to be on? And then in conjunction with what Tanner said, analyze how that might affect you as a person if that's what you want to be.
I would say definitely big things like moving. Dude, I haven't been able to do anything really except work. Like go to one job, go to the next job, go home, and we're packing and getting stuff ready to move in. And I have not been the best at responding back, and I'm trying my best. I really am. To everybody, like all the people that really do matter, that are texting, calling, it's a lot. And like Connor said, dude, we have been having to clean. And my girlfriend's gonna watch this video, but she already knows. When it comes to cleaning, I just try to knock that bitch out. Oh my God, I hate doing chores all damn day long. I'm not a fan, but you know what? Like you said, Connor, gotta get it done.
I mean, you're making all these big life decisions, and you're making plans to make all these life decisions, and you don't realize how much it entails a lot of the time. It can definitely be a factor with making your plans. You underestimate like what you're getting yourself into sometimes. I know that's had a big impact on me making plans, and I've of course talked about me making plans and trying to please everybody and being there for others. That was really a high school thing, and like early college, I would say. I got better with it once I started prioritizing my hobbies and what I wanted to do with my career. But I'm curious if you guys have experienced it. I know y'all, Tanner kind of mentioned it. GT, I'd be curious if you've experienced that kind of people pleaser thing and maybe how it's impacted your decision-making process now. And also, I do think it'd be interesting to maybe explore the adverse option. Maybe you're so focused on your plans that you're making for yourself that you don't prioritize making plans for other people in your life. Have you guys ever experienced something like that? And how does that impact your decision-making for plans now?
Both.
You've done both?
I've had both. in different phases of life. I think when earlier on, was absolutely like trying to just please other people. And
Sure.
I wanted acceptance and people to really like me because I didn't want to feel like I was excluded and I didn't want to feel left out because that was like one of the scariest feelings to have. But by me not focusing on myself or become the true me, I was always chasing what other people thought of me and what they wanted me to be, and I wasn't able to become the true me and really focus on myself, which was bad. But of course, at the time, like I didn't know that. But as I got older, I started realizing it, and I got to the point where I was like, you know what? Enough is enough. Like, honestly, at this point, if you don't like me, that's your loss. I care less what you think about me because I'm going to live my life, like how I want to live my life, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do because on my deathbed, I don't want to be like having all these regrets. I was a people pleaser now. Hell no. I could care less.
Yes, sir.
Now, oh man, the only people I please are my bosses. That's about it. Well, and my significant other.
And yourself sometimes.
And myself sometimes. Let me put that out there before she listens to this episode and I'm screwed.
Yeah.
After she listens, I don't want to hear that. I would say at one point, yeah, when I was playing baseball, I didn't really focus on anybody else but myself, but it's something that sometimes being selfish is just what you have to do. And I was a little bit behind others, and for me to catch up, I had to be a little selfish. But, at the same time, like there's pros and cons with everything. And pros, yeah, I was getting a lot better at baseball, and I was catching up, and then I was starting to pass people. But the con was I wasn't giving time to those who were around me, and I wasn't giving the attention and all that. And, my girlfriend was always there for me, and I had a lot of focus on baseball. And by the time I was done with baseball, I'd be tired, and then I'm not giving her the attention that she deserves and that she needs. And so it's a dual-bladed sword. It's if you don't know like how to control it and balance it. So, but that's definitely
it's good insight.
Yeah, I think everyone is a lot more. Everyone's a lot more familiar with being more of a people pleaser. I think in general, people try to please others more so than being selfish on the other end. So I'm going to talk more about being on the a little too focused on yourself side. The first way, which is if you're super, super busy and you really have to do this, it's a pretty drastic move in my opinion, but almost block out your schedule just like you do for your work and all the other things that you're trying to do for yourself. If you're trying to balance it and prioritize others, almost like block out your schedule as if it was a job or a second job or whatever, where 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm not doing anything that I need to work on. I'm closing my computer. I'm not looking at my email. I'm not doing all this other things that I want to do. I need to focus on the people around me. So on a drastic level, you can do that, but on a casual level, something that we've even talked about in the other episodes to kind of balance out not being so focused on yourself is reaching out to people rather than you slowly realizing that everyone's reaching out to you and they're the ones that are always texting you. Have that little mental check. Like, for example, today was Tatum's, my younger sister. Today was Tatum's first day of school. So she just started her last semester at Tennessee, and it was a really surreal moment. But like I told you guys off camera, I got a bunch of stuff done that I didn't really want to do. But next thing you know, it's 6:00, and I'm like, shit, I haven't really talked to her. I know she was busy with school and her job, but I made that priority to, instead of her reaching out to me reaching out to her, making sure that she's doing well and she had a great, first day of school. So to relate that to everyone, just make sure that you are reaching out to people and not being so self-absorbed. And if you realize everyone is reaching out to you and you're the one that's responding to them, you need to have a little mental check on that. Trying to think briefly what else you can do to not be so focused on yourself and prioritize others in your life. I think, I don't know. I just think blocking out the schedule really worked. That way, not only is it forcing me to actually be more productive because I limited my time more, but also it gives me something to look forward to and something to actually be like, okay, enough is stop stressing myself out about all this shit that's on my mind that I need to do. Just focus on the others around you. So, Connor, I don't know if you have something else or different you would like to add.
I wanted to talk more about that side too, because
Mhm.
that was more of what I have experienced more recently. So I'm having to come back a little bit. So I know exactly what you're talking about, man. And I think you summarized it beautifully. So I can't add on much more. People pleaser, as you know, as everybody knows, we talk about it a lot. Focus on yourself, on the things that matter to you. And then, of course, don't be so selfish that it impacts your friendships. I think the people that truly care about you, if you just reach out to them, if they really care about you and you have a good friendship, that's all that they need. I would say most of the time, in my experience. I feel like if you're in something where somebody is demanding more that you can't possibly commit to, then maybe that's something that you have to reevaluate in your life. Maybe that's a friendship you have to reevaluate. And it depends. It's different for some people. Some people need a little bit more. And I'm not saying like a relationship, of course, you're going to be talking to that person a little more than your friendships, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I experienced that more recently when I was in DC after my breakup. I was so focused on me and like trying to do new things for me. I missed out on some things that happened with my friends, and I was already away and estranged from them. I was kind of just in this weird headspace where I just was like feeling sorry for myself and I wanted people to kind of coddle me and stuff like that. And that wasn't really realistic because we all have our lives that we have to deal with, like we all are living. And I realized that maybe I would commit with my actions sometimes or just commit with my words. And it was kind of like a back and forth. Some people were offended if I wasn't committing with my actions enough or my words enough, So I know for me, I'm more bothered if people if people say they're going to commit to something but don't do it with their actions. So I know that probably impacted them when I was too self-absorbed. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, to switch gears just real quick, guys, because I think something we haven't touched on is kind of the different ways that people commit to things. The two ways of commitment is to follow through with your words, saying you're going to do something, and then following through with your actions. So my question to you, gentlemen, is when someone does not commit to one or the other, which one upsets you more? Does it bother you more when someone does not follow through with their words, or does it bother you more when someone does not follow through with their actions, and why?
I'll just speak real quick, GT, just because I guess I just already kind of answered it. I would say that it bothers me more if you are committing with both, but your actions are not speaking louder than your words. And we've all heard that saying, actions speak louder than words. That to me shows like a level of commitment and dedication and trust that I can put in you if you're going to commit to me with your actions. Yeah. So I'll just keep it very short and sweet that for me, it would be actions.
I mean, yeah, I think it's kind of, for me personally, it's kind of a mix of both where people say something, but they lie because I'm one of those, it's a pet peeve, like don't lie to me. I'm not a fan of that, and I hate it. Now, I will freely admit I hate it. Because I'm one of those, I can take it. Like, if you just be honest with me, don't lie to me, because if I find out you're lying, I'm going to lose respect for you, and I'm not going to think of you as the same. So I would definitely say probably words, but, not following through on what you say through your actions. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, for me, I think it's more so the words just purely because for you to actually do something, you have to say it first or at least think of it first. And so if I can't even take your word for something, there's no way in hell I'm going to believe that you're going to actually follow through something through actions.
Yep.
So that's why I think words for me, if someone doesn't follow through with their words, it bothers me more because like you said, GT, if your word means nothing, then your actions aren't going to mean anything.
All starts with your words. Words come from up here.
Right. So
I guess that makes sense. Sometimes I might have the different viewpoint, not necessarily that people are like lying with their words, but intentions for me are very important because I know I've had the best intentions of trying to do something and I know life has just gotten in my way and I've communicated something with my words and life has gotten in my way and it's impacted my actions on delivering on my words. Yeah. So I may be a little bit different in that regard because if I truly believe that somebody's intention with their words was to follow through with that action, then it maybe doesn't bother me as much, but it's a fine line because if it's just over and over and over again, then you're right. I mean, your word means nothing. So even if you took a good action and are trying something, then it doesn't matter because I don't care about your word. So I get what y'all are saying.
And boys, oh, this feels good. I get to say this to wrap it up. Normally, at the end of episodes, we talk about giving out advice, tips, tricks, and everything. So, gentlemen, what are some tips to go about making plans and following through with them?
I would just say be a person of your word and be realistic about what your word means. That's probably the best way I can summarize it, is you have to have enough self-evaluation and self-reflection of what you can realistically promise people in your life or promise your job. I mean, we've talked about being honest with yourself. We've talked about evaluating what your workload is and what you can handle. And some people can handle different workloads, by the way. Like, not everybody has the same workload and work capacity, FYI. So if you see some people working really hard and you're wondering why you can't work that hard, you might just have a different work capacity, or you maybe you work in short bursts and then you need more breaks or something. You just got to evaluate what your strengths are. My biggest piece of advice is to be honest and open with yourself about what you can accomplish so that you can make more realistic plans. And then to also communicate as honest and openly as you can with the people that you care about in your life. Or the people you don't care about, like your work sometimes.
Don't just say something about it, but be about it and do something about it. And just really know what you're committing yourself to, and don't just start going into things and being ignorant, because ignorance will get you quick. And then ignorance can turn into mistrust, no trust, and then when you get to no trust, like we said earlier, word Tanner doesn't mean shit, right? Because if you get to that point, then you're lost. No one can trust you. No one wants you to say nothing. And if you start talking, everyone's going to go, here goes this guy. No one wants to be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Just don't be that guy, guys. Let me tell you, just don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy, but also realize that you don't like it when people say something and don't follow through with it themselves. So why would you want to do that to someone else? You know what I mean? If you don't like when people are not following through with what they say they're going to do for you, why would you want to do that to someone else? So just be accountable. Yeah, just, I don't know, just don't fucking be that guy, okay? So
don't be that guy, guys.
Honestly, like the other two gentlemen said, you have to be accountable for yourself, and it does affect your relationships when you say something and don't follow through with your plans. Just be about it, you know, be true, be you, and just do. With that being said, another episode of Let's Talk 20s. Yes. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your week. Peace.
Peace.